When you're applying paper forms, do you have to cut them? Let's talk about that. So let's talk about forms. They're hard to apply. Some people don't even understand that we use forms in the industry anymore. Today I have a guest, a real live hand attached to a real live lovely person. Hi, Angel. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Now, we met in the Vancouver class, right?
Yeah, it was a wild dream come true.
It was so fun.
Yes.
I fell in love with Angel right away, and he came to our recent class. We just did it. We just came off of a 3-day class, and this is the first day that we're having, not the class, and we're doing the video together. So he stayed an extra day in my town, and we're doing this video together. And I love it because we are going to talk about how to cut your form, even if you have to cut a form. Now, you are in school as well, besides coming to my classes where you live. Do you cut your form?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
Because I just started school.
Oh, you did? Okay.
So we haven't even gotten to that part yet.
Okay.
But personally, using forms on myself, I've never cut my forms.
Oh, I love that. Now, we're getting a little crazy of cutting forms, like it's going crazy. You don't have to cut in form. In fact, the 35 years I sat at the nail table, I rarely cut a form. Not to say that I couldn't have in some occasions, but when you're at the nail table working, as a nail technician, day after day, client after client, you don't really want to get into a lot of cutting because it takes a lot of time. But some clients do require that cutting. So let's talk about when you would require it and how you would do that. So, do you want to mention, as we're talking about this, look at these lovely nails. This is the hand of a nail technician. You've definitely been playing around, right? And that's what we do when we're learning. We're working on our nails all the time. So this little nail here has a little bit of product that was once here. There looks like there was something around this area here. This is all new growth here. And same with this, we've got a little bit further back on this one, and this is all new growth in here. So this is the hand of somebody who's been learning and playing. This is to be expected. There's no damage here that is anything to worry about. So the index finger underneath will have the Hypon Nikum. All of our fingers will have a Hypon Nikum under there. There's a little bit of product on here and maybe even a little bit of natural nail lift when we get in there. We'll figure that out. I find the most often time I need to cut is a high Hypon Nikum. So the Hypon Nikum is a very sensitive part of the body, and some people's Hypon Nikum grows a little taller. Mine, in fact, does. My Hypon Nikum is right at the tip of where the scissors are right there. They're right there. If I poked any further, I would really, really hurt it. Okay, so that is the high point of the skin. Sometimes it can be really strong and very sensitive for some people. So you do want to cut around that. So this is how I would cut around a high Hypon Nikum. So when I'm doing a form, I will line up a line. See that center line? See that line right there? I will hit that in the center of the nail. So I know that's exactly where I'm going to put my form, is the center of the nail is going to have the line down that center. So that's where I need to cut, just to compensate for a little Hypon Nikum sticking out. Generally, Hypon Nikums don't go usually as far as the sides. They're just generally in this zone here. And that's a very, very tiny little space. So I will literally just take my form, and there's the center part. I will just cut a tiny, tiny little piece like that. See that tiny little thing? That's just so the Hypon Nikum can just nuzzle and sit right inside there. So let's put this on and see how it fits. And I always just give it a little bit of a wiggle, just to shimmy under there. Stick the sides down, stick the little leaves down, little side panels there, and then just give it a little pinch underneath. See how we've got the center line down the center? So it just snugly fit the Hypon Nikum right in that little piece so I could bring it right down. And we also have to make sure that the paper is below the side walls. So we got that going below on both the side walls. That is a perfect fitting form. Another way you can check your form to make sure it's really snug fitting underneath is when you look down the barrel like this and you can see that there's very little or no gap between the paper and the underside of the natural nail. Okay? Okay. So in all my years, I've only found I've had to do that a few times for that high Hypon Nikum to actually cut. But let's just take a look of, we're just going to put this form on, like we say. You really don't cut. I actually don't cut at all, just in that rare occasion. But let's just try to form your finger and see how well it does without cutting anything. Okay, so I'm going to just put this form on here. We didn't cut this form at all. Your finger looks really good. You don't have to really. I would never cut that, even though there's a Hypon Nikum under there, you said, a little bit high. I would not actually cut this finger, and this is what it would look like. Now, whenever I put it under, I always give it a little wiggle and a little pinch, and then I press the sides down first. Put down these sides here. And then I pinch it right under there. And off I go. Can you feel the difference? When I give that little extra pinch, can you feel that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels a little snugger.
Yeah, it definitely does.
That's what I find I really, really like about that extra pinch. I learned that once when you just get a little extra pinch. So if you have any little gap at all, the little extra pinch just sucks it right up. Here's the natural nail. And the form just goes right up under there. And you can really feel it. Okay, so how you check a form, like when you look at this form, some people might look at this form and think, this is a perfect fitting form. Some might think that, well, this skin is exposed right here. Actually, it's not. The form is brought under the natural nail. If I imagine pulling this natural nail out, will it go over the paper? You have to be able to get those sides, visibly see those sides to pull it out over the paper. So this is actually a perfect fitting form. So some might think you have to get down there when you see these skins, but it's not exposed. This is where we get a little carried away with overcutting forms to actually surround the nail all the way down the sides. We don't have to do that. This is actually a perfect fitting form. I love that one. So you really don't have to spend a lot of time cutting unless there's a specific reason, like a high Hypon Nikum. You can just cut a little bit of the allowance for it. You're just guessing, right? And fit it under there. Forms are cheap. If it doesn't work, you can always just bunch it up, try it again, and get rid of the previous form. You can't really reuse a form. Have you ever tried that?
A couple times.
I know. It really doesn't work. The only time you can really reuse a form is when you take it off like this and it stays its shape. Then you might be able to put it on like a pinky. So you can go to a pinky because it's a much smaller finger and you can nestle it in and you can use that form again. Doesn't always work, but you can do it sometimes. And you can use that form a second time. So I find as long as you're going a little bit smaller, you can use that form again. That's very good placement. Okay, excellent. So we can get into the placement of where you put the forms, but I'll save that for another video. Thank you for joining me, Angel. You are such a joy to work with. Your hands are so relaxed. I really appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. You're a lovely guest. I'll catch you guys in the next video.